JUMO compact controllers are used to control process variables such as temperature, humidity, pressure, flow rate and pH value. This video gives an idea about handling and the possibilities of the automation components. The JUMO compact controller is a component in the closed control loop. On it, the setpoint is specified. By varying its control output, the controller influences the amount of energy or substance for the process in such a way that the actual value is controlled to the setpoint. In the example, the temperature in a tempering furnace is controlled. For temperature measurement, there is a thermocouple in the furnace, which is connected to the controller. The measured temperature represents the actual value. The controller calculates the respective output level from the setpoint value and the actual value curve. This is in a range of 0 to 100%. In the case of a continuous controller, the controller outputs the output level as a standard signal. In the example, the 4 to 20 mA signal is used. As often practiced for electrical heating, a thyristor power controller is used as the actuator. The current signal is fed to the power controller, which then varies the electrical power for the heating elements in proportion to the controller output. In the example, 0 to 12 kW of power is fed to the heating elements of the furnace in proportion to the controller output level of 0 to 100%. The controllers have a very wide range of functions. They can be used universally and are adapted for the respective application. The scaling is done with the help of a configuration program or via the front panel of the device. As an example, the adaptation to a hardening furnace is implemented. The temperature is measured with a Type K thermocouple and the controller output is connected to a thyristor power controller via a 4 to 20 mA signal. A 2-channel controller is used. Control channel 1 is applied for the control. When adjusting via the front panel, the settings are made in the menus of the configuration level. To configure the controller function, settings are only made in the analog inputs, controllers and output submenus. By factory default, the first analog input is used as process value. The inputs allow the connection of RTD temperature probes, thermocouples and potentiometers. Standard signals can also be connected. For the example, thermocouple with internal temperature compensation is selected and the corresponding linearization is set. JUMO controllers can be operated as continuous controllers, 2-state controllers, 3-state controllers, modulating controllers and positioners. In the example, the controller controls the actuator via an analog signal. It operates as a continuous controller. Continuous and 2-state controllers have a degree of operation in the range of 0 to 100% and control the actuators via one output. This so-called first controller output must be assigned to an analog output in the case of the continuous controller. The thyristor power controller requires a signal of 4 to 20 mA. The scaling of the output is factory set to 0 to 100%. The 4 to 20 mA are output proportional to 0 to 100%. The controller is ready for use and the setpoint is adjusted. The controller reacts with 100% output and the actual value increases. The control parameters are determined by auto-tuning. During auto-tuning and in later operation, the behavior of the controller can be checked with a so-called startup function. The output level changes between 0 and 100% and the reaction of the actual value is evaluated. After auto-tuning, the controller regulates with the determined parameters to the adjusted set point. For actuators with binary control, such as solenoid valves or thyristor power switches, the controllers are configured as two-state controllers. The controllers then vary the relative on-time of the output in proportion to the determined output level. This method of operation allows a percentage of the maximum possible power to be fed into the process on average, even with the binary actuators. In the simplest case, a relay output is used. Logic outputs are used to control a thyristor power switch. Contactless switching of a consumer with 230 volt AC is possible with a solid-state relay. Most controllers have a modular hardware concept. This means that the hardware can be adapted even after the controller has been received. Three-state controllers can also be configured to control two actuators. These controllers influence the actual value to higher values with a positive output level and to lower values with a negative output level. The controllers have a first and a second controller output. These are assigned to two hardware outputs. In the classic case, two binary outputs are used in the three-state controller, which, as in the two-state controller, are controlled with pulse width modulation. However, the output level for the actuators can also be output with a standard signal, such as for a thyristor power controller. So-called motor actuators are controlled via two binary outputs, usually relay contacts. Modulating controllers are used to operate the actuators. With these, no output level feedback is available to the controller, and the controller cannot display the position of the actuator. Selected JUMO compact controllers can also be operated as positioners for the operation of the motor actuators. The position of the actuator is available to these controllers via a potentiometer in the actuator and a further analog input. The complete designation of the positioner is continuous controller with integrated positioner. The continuous controller calculates the required output level, and the subordinate positioner regulates the position of the actuator. All information about our seminars, webinars, e-learnings and reference books are available on our homepage.